All right, so I'm Keith Fulcher with the Community Foundation here with Mr. Milton White.
Yeah.
Correct? All right, Mr. White, just same thing you were telling me, just give a good, describe it in that kind of detail about your property and what happened.
Yeah, it was exactly March the 31st, 2023, and approximately about 8 o'clock or 8:10 p.m. in the evening. I had just left the house when I heard the storm was coming. Approximately about 4:30, 5 o'clock, I had left the house because I lived in a trailer there and I wanted to be in a much more stable place. So I heeded to the radio station saying it was on its way. The storm was on its way. So approximately 8:10 p.m., the storm hit Eudora, and of course that's why I am here in Eudora, and it was devastating. I didn't know how devastating it was till the next morning. I tried to enter the road to go to what used to be the house, and it was so bad you couldn't walk to the house. I had to go zigzag around the trees, blow down, uprooted, and when I finally got there, my eyes were just tears. It was nothing. It was just like I went from one country to another one. It was nothing left. My trailer was gone. My RV was gone. My mama's brick house that my sister lived in up until she passed about 3 years ago. The brick building it was 4-bedroom house. It's completely destroyed. One room remained. That's all. One room remained. And believe it or not, the ceiling fan still up in the room. The one room that's survived. All the bricks is laying. It's just on the ground, just flattened the brick. And the National Weather Forecast came over and interviewed me, and the National Weather Service said that the storm was a strong EF2. Said the maximum wind speed had to be at least 135 miles per hour for the bricks to be destroyed on the brick house. And it was other people that visited too, and they just couldn't believe what they couldn't see when they came in. It's just like it was a totally different place. And the good thing, if any good thing that came out of this, was my animals. I had, at the time, I believe it was 4 dogs there, and I had about 7 cats, and I had some chickens and roosters, and they was laying eggs. I was eating fresh eggs, and they all survived. I couldn't believe that those animals survived. Each one of my dogs was on a leash, but they had a dog house. And it blowed the dog house is probably 100 yards. If you're familiar with yards, probably 100 to 150 yards away where I found the dog house, what was left of them. And the dogs, neither dog had a scratch. They were still on the leash. They just, trees was on top of them, but they wasn't hurt. My chickens wasn't hurt. My cats, about 4 of them disappeared. I thought they had got killed, smashed with the bricks. But after about 2 days, they returned. I don't know. They said cats got 9 lives, but I don't know how many lives these cats had. But they all returned, and it just showed the power of God when He put His wrath down. He can destroy what He wanted to destroy, and He can stand what He wants to stand. But how all that much destruction and all my animals survive is just a mystery. It's got to be God, because He knows how much I love those animals. I'm a naturalist, and I've been around animals all my life. And the fact, kind of clouding up here a little, like when I go to flower, when I go to talk about my animals, I get all. I'm sorry. Yeah. Well, and the fact that the Lord led me away, cause I probably wouldn't be here if I'd been there. That's about all I got to say.
Well, what's the next step? Who's taking care of you? What's been happening?
Well, I live with my son in the Red Cross. Secret Heart been real nice to me. They've been giving me dog food, cat food, gift cards, and they've been real supportive of me, and just been real supportive. And then, of course, family and friends been real supportive to me too. I was born, I didn't tell you this before, but I was born about, if you're going to use blocks, 4 blocks from where my place is there. That's why I was born there, by a midwife, back in 1944. And we share crop for Banks and Company. All my junior life, up until I was about 19, 20 years old, we share crop for Banks and Company. The property where I live at back there is part of the 40 acres and a mule that the government gave my grandparents way back in a long time before I existed. And we held on to it and pay our property taxes and kept it. And it means a lot to me. And like I've always said, I confess Christ just 2 miles down the road there, just sucking Eudora, just before you get to Eudora there. That's the church that my mama used to make us go to church when I was a little kid. We were little, like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. We didn't have a choice on Sunday morning. We had to be in Sunday school. We would walk to church. Whether it's raining or not, we walked to church. And I'm real strong in my faith, Baptist, real strong. I really believe there's a God, and I believe that in spite of what's happening to me, because I'm still here, able to talk, with reasonable portion of health. So, I know it's just God's grace and mercy. The only reason I'm here. And that's my sanctuary. I just wanted to die back there, close to where I was born.
What'd you do for a living?
Well, I had
19?
a great career, as for a living. Of course, we sharecrop with banking coming into the farming kind of went away when all the modern equipment came. So I worked for the Forest Service part of 2 years. There out in for, I don't know the gentleman's name, but I set out pine trees. I believe in 1967 and 68. I set out pine tree for the government, and I did that. And then I worked down on Lake of the Hills and Woodland Lake. I did work down there part time to make ends meet. Then I worked down at Wall, Mississippi at Placer Lemonade where they make tables. I worked down there for 2 or 3 years. And then I worked for a place up on the hill there from Walls where they made flares for the military, handheld signal rescue flares. Most dangerous job I ever worked at. They had that black powder. I worked there for 2 or 3 years, and then I finally got hired at Don Russ Candy Company, and we made bubble gum there. I got hired there in 1971, I believe it was, and I think I was making about 75 cents an hour at the time. Soon after I got hired, I got up to $1 an hour, and I thought I was rich. But I worked for them through a lot of other owners, and I retired working for Hershey Chocolate Candy Company. Hershey sent me to school, back to school. All I had was high school. By the way, I graduated from, I went to school at first. Let me start at the beginning. Down at the little church, I went to school there for the first 4 years of my career. Sunken Eudora, we had a school in the church. I used to walk from back there. I think it was a total of 2 miles every day to school. And then I transferred from there to Pleasant Grove down south of Eudora. I worked down there at a place called I went to school down there, a place called Curb Lake at a church for another 2 or 3 years, and then I was transferred to, got to ride on the school bus, transferred to Hunter, Sucking Baptist in Hunter, and we rode the school bus to Sucking Baptist, and I graduated from there. Back then you graduated from the 8th to the 9th grade. Then they built a new school for us down just south, it would be south, just a little south of Hunter. I went to school there for 1 or 2 years in the break school, and then we transferred to Walls Delta Central High down in Walls, Mississippi, and I graduated from Delta Central High in Walls, Mississippi, I think in 1973. So that's where I got my basic education. And of course, working for the candy company, they saw a lot of interest in me because of all the hard work, my work ethic, I can't even say the word, but from farming, I always did my job and half of the other made job beside me. And they couldn't believe that, and they asked me what I would be interested in going back to school, because I could move up in the plant if I did. And of course, I jumped at the opportunity to go back to school. And I never will forget this. Moments, days I live, I never will forget it. After I decided to go back to school, I was taking some courses, and they moved me up from sweeping the floor to kind of like team lead over the floor sweepers. And then they said, well, do you want to continue your education? I said, yes, I do. And they entered me into a course. It's called the Dale Carnegie course. You're looking at a person that came from right back here in the woods, in front of the farm, and I took the Dale Carnegie course. It was a 6-month course, and the course consists of effective speaking, positive thinking, and just all kind of thing to do with life. And I graduated from DeSoto County in 1976, and I graduated with the highest honors you could get, voted by the classes and the instructors. And my wife and my sister, who have just passed on, was at my graduation. That was a big thing. I went to school at 4446 Poplar Avenue. That's why the DeSoto County course was taught. That was the greatest course in my life, because from that course, in my faith that my mama made sure I got, after I graduated, the president of our company, his name was Stuart F. Lyman. He was the president CEO of Don Russ Company. He wrote the nicest letter. I wish I had it here to let you read it. He wrote the nicest letter, commending me of my determination for achieving what I did in that DeSoto County course, because that's a great golf course. Course to take. I'm gonna get to the golf too later, but that is the most powerful course I ever took. Then after I graduated from DeSoto County, they made me a supervisor, a first line supervisor. It still was Don Russ at the time. So I remained supervisor at Don Russ for about 5 years. And then they sent this guy, he's a white guy. He was blonde haired, blue eyes. He was my boss. They sent him down. He had graduated from Southern down in Hattiesburg. Southern. He graduated from down there. He was the smartest man beside my dad I ever seen in my life. This man was so smart. He was just brilliant. So I worked for him, but he was tough as nails. And he developed me, because I didn't know nothing. He just insisted on, I don't know what he saw in me, but he was my boss for about 4 or 5 years, and I was continuing my education. Then, if you're familiar with a State Tech on Sycamore View, they sent me to school at State Tech on Sycamore View. So he said, my middle name is Lee. He called me Lee. He said, Lee, now, it's left over with you how far you can go in this company. But in order for you to excel in this company, in management, you got to have education. And you're doing good, but you got to have more. So I was taking one course after another at State Tech. And of course, I will always do well. But the next best course I took basic math at State Tech. It was 27 managers up there at Don Russ that took this course. And guess what? I graduated with a 4.0 grade point average. And on the final exam, I made a perfect score. And guess what? They gave me, it was still Don Russ. They gave me a $5,000 bonus. And back then, in them days, in the early 80s, that was a lot of money. They gave me a $5,000 bonus, and they promoted me to a senior supervisor. Mm-hmm. And I was supervisor over supervisor, because I was a senior supervisor. So I was making history. And I remained senior supervisor. And then my boss, the one that I said was tough as nails, that was just a little stop over what he was doing there in that department that I was working for. He was moving on up. So he had his degree was in engineer. So he moved on upstairs to something high, and he demanded that they gave me his job. He was tough. He was the toughest man you ever see. He, back then it wasn't really popular for minorities to get a position like that. He insisted. Not only did he insist that I get the job, he insists that I get paid the same thing they was paying him for doing the job. I owe everything to he insist. So I remained in that job. Of course, I was still going to school at State Tech, and I took some courses at University of Memphis. I took some courses at Rhodes College in Memphis. I took the 1 minute manager at Rhodes College, Dr. Kenneth Blanchard. I know his name, and never will forget his name. The 1 minute manager, he said, this was the thing. Catch your employee doing something right, and then you can go up and praise them. Not you mostly criticize them for doing wrong, but his theory was catch them doing something right, and go and praise them, and they know you're not shooting the bull with them. If I may say, and that was a great course. I took that course at Rhodes College, and we went on from there. Then my boss, somebody else bought our company, a company from Helsinki, overseas. They bought Don Russ, and they changed the name to Leaf, L-E-A-F, Leaf. They was located, the headquarters in Chicago, but they bought our company. And guess what? My boss was transferred to the Chicago plant, and he didn't forget me. I got promoted to superintendent over processing, over all the formulas of all the candy, bubble gum. We made breast mints, all that stuff. I was the superintendent. When I retired, I was the superintendent over processing. I retired in 2002. You probably done ran out of I retired from, which was Hershey then. I retired in 2002. I was the superintendent over processing. And of course, I had to sign a contract. I wouldn't sell any of their formulas, all that stuff. The regular routine. But I had a great career, and I've done a lot of other things too. Like I work part time at the golf courses since I retired from Hershey. I'm a big time golfer. I played a lot of golf up in Hershey, Pennsylvania, at the 8 golf course. I used to go up there. I didn't tell you about that. I used to take seminars up in Hershey, Pennsylvania. Really? Yeah, and I got to go to all the amusement parks up there. Visit the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup plant, the big Hershey plant. I've had a great career, and but let me tell you this. I told you about my Christian life. Well, let me tell you this. I also was introduced to golf when I was working at the candy company, and I played a lot of golf. We used to have golf tournaments. We, meaning Don Russ, have golf tournaments, and I played a lot of golf and had to play the plane with a lot of my co-workers, and we won some, we lost some, but I played a lot of golf. And I also got to play golf up in Hershey, Pennsylvania, where the pros play up there. I got to play on some of those golf courses, and used to fly up there and to seminars, and just had a great career. But all that And let me tell you, I got to tell you about this. In 1991, I was always impressed at airplanes and what make them lift, what the basic mechanism that cause the airplane to fly and to stay up and all that. I was always interested in that. So in 1991, I decided to go and take some flight lessons down at Ferris Aviation in Olive Branch. So I started flying down at Ferris, and I believe my flight instructor's name, I know his last name was Lindsay, and I flew. I got 18 hours actually flying. You know, part of the hours on the ground, but I actually learned to fly a Cessna 152 aircraft, and I'm gonna tell you this little story, and we're gonna end this about the flying. And I found out the instructor does this to all the students. We were flying one day when I went through the flight checklist. You got to go through a checklist before you go up, because once you get up, you can't check nothing. So I went through my little checklist thing, and everything was fine. So we taxied off and got clearance from air traffic control to go up. And they told us clear to 3,000 feet. And we took most of the training over by Haven, Mississippi. And we were down over by Haven. At that time, we had climbed I believe about 5,000 feet. And this was probably close to, I had been up probably about 10, 15 times. And I was getting pretty advanced in flying, you know. And I was still in training. And we do all kind of stunts up there. Banks, we do, you climb up and you stall the airplane. That is scary. Did you know at 37.5 knots, our airplane will stay up? It would actually stay up, which is about 42 or 43 miles per hour, but we go in knots with airplane. I think it's 37.5 knots. You can fly, but you have to pull the nose up like this, and it's like walking it through the air. It's the most scariest thing you ever see. It's called stalling. And I had that. Went through that okay. But this one day we went up and we had climbed about 5,000 feet, about 5,000 feet. And he said, Lee, he called me Lee by my middle name. We're gonna do some dives today. That's definitely my flight instructor. He said, we're gonna do some dives. So we got up to about 5,000 feet, and so he said, dive. So I breathe forward. I'm going down on an angle about, I guess, probably 35 degrees, just something like that. He said, Lee, dive. I said, I'm diving. He took control. You know, he got a control on the other seat. He took control of that aircraft. And look, we going traveling probably about 120 knots, going straight at the ground like this. His control. And look, only thing I remember is this right here. At the end of the dive, he pulled out of it. I guess we were probably about 1,000 feet or 1,500 feet from the ground. When he pulled out, I blacked out. And when I woke up, I was holding him like this. And I guess I was blacked out for about 10 seconds or something. But all I know, when I woke up, I was going up. He said, Lee, do you want to still fly? That's what he asked me. I was right back the next week. And I continued to fly. And the only reason why I stopped flying without getting my pilot license, I got my pilot manual, all that stuff. I had that. Because I was playing golf, and I was pretty good. I had got to be a scratch golfer. If you know anything about scratch golfer, that means you can shoot even par on any golf course. I was really good. And golf is kind of expensive. And I had to and fly an airplane. Taking lessons was very expensive. Because back in 1991, every time I flew that airplane, every time I go down there for a lesson, at that time it was like $75. I believe it was $75, and then it's probably $200 now. You know, but 1991, but it was $75. And I had to make a choice between flying the airplane and playing golf, and I chose playing golf. But that was a great experience. I'm the only one in my family ever piloted an airplane, and a little three-seater Cessna 152. So now you know. And I never told you about my family. I got 4 kids, 1 kid deceased. He deceased just a little over a year ago. He was 53 years old, young, and really just hurt me to my heart. But he died from natural cause, health problem, and but I have 3 living kids. I got my daughter, 57 years old. Yeah, I have another son. He's 56, and then my son that passed away. He was 53 when he passed away about a little over a year ago, and my baby boy just turned 34. He was my baby boy. That's who I live with now, my baby boy. But he got his own life, and you know just my place down here. And he lived in Memphis, of course. But and I've been married twice. Both of my wife have deceased. One deceased, she was 77 when she passed on, my last wife, and she been dead now. She was 6 years older than me, so she been passed on by 5 or 6 years. And my first wife, she was 62 when she passed. She had aneurysm, blood clot at the head, brain, and she died. She been dead now, probably about 15, 20 years. She been dead. So right now I'm just me and my children and my mother. And that's all I got to say. If you got any questions, you're welcome to ask.
Well, that's been enjoyable. So
it's something different, isn't it? It's all true, though. Yeah. It's all true. So.
Well, tell me your name again. And
my full name is Milton Lee White Sr.
And born where?
Born
what year?
In 1944. Right back here behind us, about a mile behind us, on the plantation, Banks and Company plantation. I was born 1944, July 1st, 1944, and I just had a birthday about 3 weeks ago, July 1st. I was 79 years young, and I'm just enjoying every minute of life. And I love my farm and my animals, and I love the law. And that's about all I ask.
Well, thank you, Milton. I appreciate it. That was
right.
That was the best interview I've ever done.
I'll tell you.
Great. All right, Keith Fulcher, Community Foundation of Northwest Mississippi. Here, got to meet for the first time my new friend, Mr. Milton Lee Williams.
White.
Milton Lee White. All right, great. Thank y'all for watching.